Flaps of confetti, it's just like.
Welcome back to season 3, or I guess welcome to the beginning of season 3, where apparently none of us are taking anything seriously for the Field of Food Table Talk podcast.
No!
This is an odd start for us, but for our returning viewers, thank you. We appreciate you so much, and for our new viewers, I don't know what the hell's going on, to be honest. But with it being this going to be released right at the beginning of November, end of October, we have rut conversations to have.
Oh, yeah.
We're gonna have probably 2 or 3 episodes of the rut conversation, and then we have a couple things planned that at this point now I'm nervous for.
Yes.
So I'm gonna start with Kyle. What's your rut plans?
You know what I got going on.
No.
I'm going to be laid up in the hospital for the rut.
Yeah. I suppose that's true.
I got a pretty good pre-rut plan. That's about it for me.
All right, so what does your pre-rut look like?
My pre-rut is I have a couple spots to where I know, one, I'm like 99% sure. I don't know if you ever heard of the term breeding room before. Mm-hmm. I'm pretty sure I have a breeding room.
Okay.
Because it's always about 80% of the property is terrible for the rut. And then put that one little pocket in the middle of the swamp, down close to water, where the wind comes off the field and it kind of swirls in there. So it's hard to hunt because of the wind. But if you can get it, if you have a heavy wind, I've learned if it's over like 12 miles an hour, it won't swirl. It just comes straight off that field, straight west, and it dives in through and it goes right out to the field where Nick hunts. So, sorry, but
I would not hunt when he's hunting.
Yeah. But in the past, it seems like that Halloween to November 9th, there's just an unbelievable amount of buck activity down there.
Okay.
You get bucks chasing, you get bucks fighting, vocalizations.
That's when I actually got my buck last year. It was on Halloween.
Yeah.
I shot a really nice 8-point down in that same hole one year on November 9th. A 4-point came through. Chasing a doe, full tilt. He was right behind them. That 4-point stopped for a second. He just T-boned him, head down. I thought he gored him. I was like, that buck just freaking wrecked that other one, dude.
Yeah.
And then 20 minutes later, he came through. You couldn't get no closer to her hind end. He was right there. And I shot him 20 yards. And then in the years past, it seems like that week time frame. There were nights I'd go down there to hunt, and I would see 7 or 8 different bucks in a 2-hour time span. But I also do a lot of calling that time. I do a lot of cold calling that time too.
Do you?
Yeah, I'm a big fan of cold calling. Starting like late October, around like the 26th, 25th.
So when you're cold calling off that bedding area, right?
I don't believe it's a bedding area because the woods they always come out of, it's so open and there's not a lot of ground growth because the timber's so big. But like they funnel out of there and there's nothing in front of it. It's just a finger.
Okay.
But they all come out of that. So I don't know where they're bedding at because it's off the property and I can't find it.
Yeah.
But they come down that finger. It's just so, and then as soon as it hits the bottom, it gets into that thick swamp and that's where I'm at.
Okay.
They always head toward that pocket. But cold calling, I've had a lot of success with that last week to the first week in November. I don't rattle because I know we've talked about it that because of the height, I've never had luck. Like I feel like a deer knows like, hey, that rattles. That doesn't sound normal.
And we've only had luck rattling on the ground and stomping and making a shot out of it.
Yeah. I mainly just grunt, and I don't do anything crazy. I don't do the big buck roars or the tending grunts. I do just, I have a call with a slider on it. It's not an extinguisher. It's kind of sort of like one.
Okay.
I don't put it all the way down at the bottom, but I leave it a little bit off. Got it in between like young buck and mature buck. Mm-hmm. And I do a lot of contact grunts, which is just like your bleh. And everyone's like, oh man, lower that down. Go to that mature buck. And I'm like, I don't want to be the biggest, baddest buck in the woods because the other bucks are like, well, I don't want to go over there.
That contact or that breeding grunt sound where it's bit.
Yep.
That is such an important thing to do.
I've learned that there's, like when I first started, I was just holding the call, bet. And then the more I learned, now I do like a sound chamber. Well, I'll start with my hands cupped. And that works. It seems I'm getting better results doing that. But I think they can hear that bit of a muffle beforehand.
That change.
Yep.
Yeah.
I think they can hear that. So I'm getting better results doing that. And then bucks out of range, not interested in the call, snort wheeze that time of year.
So we've talked about that before. I've never had success with the snort wheeze.
I played one night with a young buck, a young little basket rack. I snort wheezed him in 6 times. He would come in. I'm not talking like he came in the 20 and walked away. Like I'm talking he came up to the base of the tree and circled it and walked away. And then I'd wait for him to get like 40 yards away and I'd hit him again and he would literally just U-turn and come right back and do the same thing. Did it 6 times before he finally was like, there's nothing over there. I can't find this deer.
so you had a mobile decoy.
Pretty much. That's why I was like, I'm just going to try to keep him around.
Yeah.
One of the biggest bucks I ever saw while bow hunting, I've told you this story too. He came out beside me at like 40. And this was right around, it was a little earlier than that. I think it was the 22nd or 23rd October. Came out beside me at like 40 in some brush and started walking away. Hit him with the grunt. Wanted nothing to do with it. Now he's about 60. Hit him with a snort wheeze. This deer stopped, turned. I watched all the hair on his neck just
really
ears lay down flat. And he came to a dead run from 60, 65 yards to about 15.
Agitated.
Just like that.
Yeah.
So fast, I didn't have time to grab my bow. So there's a 165-inch 10-point stay in front of me. I'm just standing there like an idiot, like, I didn't do anything.
I could have done more here.
And he's walking the whole time, his nose is up, and he's cuts through beside me, through this thick wall. I had my bow at that point, but I couldn't find a hole. It's so thick.
Yeah.
And then for the rest of the evening, that was about 45 minutes before dark. For the rest of the evening, after that happened, I looked behind me, there were 2 does up on the hill. And he dogged them does until dark. Luckily, I got out of there without spooking him. Took me about 40 minutes to cover 100 yards, but...
clean egress.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like, long time getting down the ladder, long time walking up. And when I got to about maybe 120 yards away, I was like, okay, I'm good.
Boringly slow.
It was.
Yeah.
It was very dark. I didn't want to use a flashlight or nothing.
No, can't. In that situation, you can't.
Kind of like hands out, like, okay, trying to feel for anything. Kind of like not really dragging my feet, but like not getting them really far off the ground in case there's something I'm not stepping on.
Yeah.
I don't want to make any noise.
Yeah.
But it did work. Yeah, snort wheeze. Big fan of the snort wheeze.
I've never had good success with
I
that.
don't even know how to do that. I know what it is. I just don't know how to do it.
I would love to mimic it for you. My brother, Kyle, who's been on the podcast before, is really good at it. Mm-hmm. If there's anything like nasally, like snot or anything in my face, and I do a snort wheeze, it's coming out.
Yeah.
Like I don't even try.
The call that I have has a snort wheeze tube on it.
So
it's just like a hollow tube, and then
Yeah.
it's choked down to like a really small opening, so it's kind of like a chamber, and that's what I use. And even there've been times like late season I've done it, not late season, but like in that November time frame, my dad was like, I could hear you do that.
Really?
He was like, I know. He's like, you saw something today. Why? He's like, you snort wheezed. I heard it. I did. You were 200 yards away. He's like, I heard that clear as day.
So are you thinking with wind from where your dad's hunting versus where you're hunting, and you do a snort wheeze, a circle around to see if there's going to be something out in front of you or something back behind that
I
deer?
won't cold call snort wheeze. That's only if I have visual. I don't want to do that.
Man, I do not like the cold calling.
I will cold. If I cold call, it's contact grunts, and every time is different from variation of length, speed, duration, the amount of grunts I put out. I always change it up because I know guys are like, "Yep, I grunt." It's like how many go? Like I do 4 grunts every time. I'm like, oh, those deer know pretty quick.
Yeah,
I remember that's something that I actually learned last year. I think it was your dad.
Repetition.
That told me that.
Yeah.
He's like, don't do the
Deer-
same thing.
deer
Just change it up.
There's times I'll pick up a grunt, and I'm done. Then there's times I'll do 5 or 6.
So there's a bunch of those old primetime videos, like the VHS that we grew up watching, where they would talk about like just do 3.
Yeah.
And then everybody in the woods were doing 3.
Growing up,
So you're not doing anything different. Like these deer are going to catch on. They're not dumb animals.
because growing up, my dad was like, do one at, no, if this is 3 and this is 9, do 1 at 3, 1 at noon, and 1 at 9. Or no, 3, 1, 11, and 9. And 4.
Paint the picture.
Right.
Like
so it's like, oh, the deer are like, oh, it's just the same noise coming He's like, do it every 10 minutes. I'm like, okay, so every 10 minutes, there's a noise that happens in the same duration, going the same direction. I'm like, I'm going to pick up on that.
Well, yeah.
If I'm going to pick up on it, they're going to pick up on it.
Well, not only that, just imagine your dog or your cat or whatever trying to get the attention of you or another animal in the house. They're going to do what they know works. Mm-hmm. Animals in the woods are no different than a pet.
Right.
They are programmed to learn something. If a deer has heard X before, they know what X means, especially if they wind it.
And a lot of times too, like, 'cause I have that slider, I'll move the slider.
Yeah.
I'll change my tone as well. Before, the old calls, you had one tone with them old grunt calls.
Yeah.
Now you have the option to do multiple. So like, I'll do a grunt on, my slider's here on the level. Okay, I'm going to grunt again. Okay, well, I'm going to move it up a little bit, or I'm going to move it down just a hair to get that different tone, that tonal range.
So I have one. It's kind of like a rubber tube, and it has a reed in it. And on the back side of it, where you're blowing, I have fawn, doe, young buck, and then mature buck. And when I blow into that, if I go down to usually I'm in between, like you were saying, like the older buck, younger buck. But the tube on the front, I either just squeeze it, and when I blow, I just kind of release, and it gives me that.
You're doing the same thing as the sound chamber.
Yeah.
But it's nice because then I don't have to worry about the tones and everything. I remember I tried the fawn. I was like, oh, that's annoying.
I know some guys.
Fawn's great early season, not come rut.
Yeah.
I know some guys that swear by the fawn early season.
Yeah.
Like, you get down, set up in the woods on a trail, and hit that fawn. They're like, I'll shoot a doe more times than not.
Yeah.
Really? Like, yeah, but I guess it's just one of those things, like, you gotta make it sound right.
You have to own it.
Because when I do it, it's just like, wham!
Like you were actually in distress, almost like coyote hunting at that point.
Pretty much,
because you have to appeal to a certain part of that animal.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's very finicky.
So this is kind of off topic just for the Red itself, but I watched this video a couple of years back of this. I think it was a girl on TikTok said that she took a pocket full of gravel and then was
throw it on the ground
and hunting adjacent off of acorns, but then she would throw it just piece by piece, so it sounded like acorns were falling through the woods.
Dude, this is hysterical for me because you also brought up VHS tapes, and one year down at deer camp, we watched a hunting video, and the guy was like, it was some dude from way down south, and he was like, what I like to do in the deer stand, I'll take a pocket full of acorns, and then when I'm up there and that deer's kind of acting finicky, I start throwing acorns on the ground. He'll come over to me and eat. And my dad's like, if I ever catch you doing that, he's like, I'm going to rip you out of that tree. So, yeah, I'm not a big fan of the gravel with the acorns in the pocket.
Yeah, but it's outside the box thinking.
It makes sense, though, to think about it. Like, I don't really want to go over there, but hey, I hear something that I've been hearing.
Yeah.
And I know that means food. I'm going to go.
So repetition.
But at the same time,
bad repetition.
for rut, food's not going to be your best option.
No.
That's why, come rut, I'm either down there in the swamp where I've had a lot of buck activity in years past, or I'm hunting main big travel routes that I know, like you can visibly see a trail through the woods. Like I know they're on that. That's where I'm going to be.
Yeah. So Nick, what's your plan for the rut now that you're having a normal October?
Hey, welcome to bow hunting, bro.
So like right now, like I said, I was just focusing on doe. So my stand just focusing on like the corn pile. But one thing that I talked to Kyle about too is the deer are coming in different than they were last year. So
which is normal. Like it's not always the same.
They're not like they're still in the same area, but the way that they're actually passing through me is totally different. Because the first two deer that I shot last year were on this side towards that back swamp where we retrieved that one doe.
Yeah.
This year, that's a dead side. Like I've had maybe one deer come from that side. Everything else is coming up from where you're at down in the swamp. So I still need to get back there. I've been talking about it. I just haven't done it. I need to go back. There's obvious trails where they're coming out, and they're coming out the same place every single night. I need to get another camera up there and see like where they're actually traveling, because I was talking to his dad about potentially putting up another stand
where
they're passing through.
Okay.
Because like I said earlier when we were talking up in the kitchen, the buck that I had shot last year, it wasn't even on my camera.
Yeah.
It was coming nowhere near.
Well, when you're
where
in the
I was hunting.
late October, early November time frame, you're going to start finding a lot of new deer.
Yeah.
We get deer we get deer I know we've had on the camera for 2-3 years, but they're only here for that
Gone.
week.
Yeah.
And then we
Or
have deer
come back, yeah.
And then we have deer that I watch all summer going up to the rut, and then they disappear. Yeah. I know where a lot of them actually end up at my buddy's place a mile down the road, because he's like, man, look at this buck, and I'm like, yep. So here's 40 pictures.
So what that represents is two different things. One, doe bedding areas that certain bucks feel comfortable with, or bucks feel comfortable in a certain area during that early season, and then they're like, nope, I like breeding 2 miles that way.
I've always heard, I don't know the truth behind it, or
It's almost like having a favorite bar. Sorry, but yeah.
no,
like,
yeah, you're no,
Yeah, like I like going to the bar
yeah.
3 miles down the road.
It doesn't mean I'm not going to go check out the bar 5 miles down the road every now and then.
Yeah,
But
that's exactly.
I
what
have
it
more
is.
fun at the bar 3 miles down the road. But I've heard this before. I don't know if there's any truth behind it or if you've heard it, but I've read that bucks will go back to their the woods they were born in for
Yes.
rut.
Yes.
I don't know. I've just heard it. I've never looked it up or done any research.
I've heard that. The only research that I've seen on that is like a visit, not like a stay. And
Yeah, like I'm going to stay.
area.
No, 11 and a half months over here, but then for this 2-week span, I'm going to go back here for a little bit.
No,
and then I'm gonna-
it's like a 36-hour visit.
Yeah,
go scent check it and then go.
yeah, they kind of just make a big loop.
Yeah.
I actually think the whole herd does that. They kind of just they have a loop that they go around. Like say a deer has what an average deer has a 1 mile square range, something like that. 10.
Yeah, or bucks.
Bucks. I'm done.
Doe, I think doe's like 2.5, 5.
Yeah, but that doesn't mean they're everywhere. So like, man, you got all these deer on camera, and all of a sudden, poof, you got nothing.
Yeah.
They're just checking out the other end of their home range.
Yeah.
Give it a week. They're gonna come back.
Yeah.
The deer are somewhere. The deer didn't just disappear.
Well, it's no different from us. I'm not going to travel down to Cincinnati or Columbus just to go eat dinner.
Right.
Like, I know where I like stuff.
Yeah.
That's no different.
But every now and again, you're like, yeah, let's go check out this spot. We ain't been there in a while.
Yeah.
That's the same.